A very good evening to you from the sports desk as we continue keeping up to speed with all that is happening at the Paris Olympics. And action continues today with South Africa's 100-meter runners doing well in their respective heats. It was a defeat for the women's hockey team with more track and field taking place this evening. And to tell us more about that, we are joined by Karien Jonckheere all the way in Paris. Karien, a very good evening to you.
Hi, Kwena. Yes, I'm at the athletics track tonight. I've moved across from the swimming pool from the last few nights, so looking forward to some good action tonight.
And speaking of action, we started the day with action on the track and field. We saw 3 South Africans running in the 100 meters, and good to say they all moved through to the next round.
Yes, absolutely. We saw Akani Simbine in action for the first time. He won his heat and cruised straight through. Then Sean Maswangani came third in his heat, and the top 3 all automatically go through. And then Benji Richardson was fourth in his, but his time of 10.06 seconds earned him a place as one of the 3 fastest non-automatic qualifiers. So 3 through to the semi-finals. That also bodes well for our relay team, of course.
And I mean, just looking generally at the performance that we've seen there, looking at the favourites like Noah Lyles was not really convincing. I'm not sure if it was the fact that maybe it's a question of it's just the first round, just taking his paces. Also, Lamont Jacobs, also not too convincing.
Yes, I think it's like you say, it's the first round. They're not going to put it all out there in the first round. It's all they needed was a top 3 position. Unlike swimming, where your time determines whether you go through or not, this is simply position. So as long as they knew they were in the top 3, they didn't really have to push themselves too hard. So I think the semi-finals will be where we see them putting in a bit more effort, and we'll see some faster times there tomorrow night. And then obviously, the final is also tomorrow night, so they have to gear up for that straight afterwards.
And just talking about Africans, Letsile Tebogo also, who is one that could definitely medal or at least finish on the podium, was quite convincing in his heat.
Yes, he, of course, took the silver at the World Championships last year behind Noah Lyles, so he'll be one to watch. It was interesting to see 11 African athletes going through to the semi-finals. That's 4 more than the last Olympics in Tokyo. So African sprinting is definitely on the rise. We've got some exciting prospects.
And I mean, again, to mention Africans there, Ferdinand Omanyala, on his day, one of the best, an African champ. We know that on a good day, he definitely can beat some of the best in the world.
Absolutely. He's run the 2nd fastest time in the world this year, which is a 9.7. And he won his heat this morning. He's definitely one to keep an eye on. We'll have to see if he can do it on a big stage. He had also run a really fast time coming into Tokyo 3 years ago and then didn't make the final. So we'll see what he can do tomorrow.
And I mean, just on the track, as we stay there, we saw also the repechage of the 800 meters. And speaking of the repechage, we have 2 South Africans that are returning in just about 30 or so minutes for the repechage for the 1500.
Yes, that's right. Ryan Pahlele and Tsepochite are coming back to run that repechage. It's a newly introduced thing for these Olympics where the automatic, those who don't qualify automatically get a second chance to qualify for the semi-finals, just in the distances from 200 to 1500 and the hurdles events as well. So it makes it more difficult because that means they have an extra race in their legs when they reach those semi-finals. So it's definitely a tough one, and they have to finish in the top 3 in the race tonight to qualify for the semi-finals.
And I mean, what can we expect? Again, one would say that if you struggled in your heat and gets a second chance, looking at how Pahlele and Sita ran, what do you think are their chances really of going through to the semis?
It is a tough one. They finished well down in their heats. I think they were in 12th and 13th place, if I remember correctly. So, yeah, it's. I don't want to say unlikely. You never know. Hopefully, they can push themselves tonight and get one of those top 3 places.
Let's swiftly move on to the hockey. Also, we saw some hockey action earlier on, and again, things not really going well for Team South Africa as far as hockey is concerned.
Yes, the hockey is always a tricky one because in South Africa, hockey is not a professional sport. We don't have a league all year round. We're not playing, we don't have regular training camps. And then we come to the Olympics and we're expected to compete against teams who do have that. Well, the majority of the teams do have that. So it's always a tough one. The women lost their last match 1-0 to the USA to wrap up their campaign. So they haven't won any matches here, but they've been really impressive. They haven't lost any match by more than 2 goals, and that was only one of their matches. The rest have only been by 1 goal. And if you compare that to teams in the past, we were losing by 4 or 5 goals. I think the last time we played Australia, we lost by 5 goals at the Commonwealth Games. So while it doesn't look like a great performance, it actually is one they can be proud of. Today also marked the 250th cap for Dirkie Chamberlain, so that's a real milestone for her. She's 37 now, so I think she'll be hanging up her hockey boots quite soon.
Yeah, great to see Dirkie in action. Some of us who are long in the tooth with this thing remember a very young Dirkie playing way back in some of these games. But as we look at just some of the action, what can we expect from Team South Africa tonight and maybe tomorrow?
Tonight, all we have left is that repechage of the 1500 meters to look forward to. Then tomorrow is a big day for the athletics. We have obviously Prudence in action in Prudence Sekgodiso in the semi-finals of the 800 meters. Then we've got our 100-meter runners in the semi-final and hopefully final of the 100 meters. And then earlier in the day, we have our long jumpers in action. That's long jump qualification for Jovan van Vuren and Chesil Johnson. We've got the 400-meter hurdles for women with Sine Geldenhuys and Rogel Josephs. We've got the 400 meters, the first round, with Lyle Pillay and Zaki Dinene. And then the only other sports that we have athletes in tomorrow are the golf, of course. It's the final round of the golf competition for the men with Eric van Rooyen and Christian Bezuidenhout. And then the cycling, the road race, we've got Ashley Moorman-Passio and Tiffany Keep going in that one. So a lot of action to watch tomorrow.
Well, absolutely a big day to watch, especially as you mentioned, the 100 meters and the 800 meters, because it's a big opportunity to see if we will get onto those podium finishes. But then again, if we look generally at the team so far and the team performance, Karien, what has the mood been like? I mean, we've had some hit and misses, but there's been a lot to celebrate, a lot of improvement. I mean, you look at also the 10,000 meters where Welsgoed came 10th, but got the South African record, bittersweet as it were, that could not even get as close as possible to the podium, but managed to run a very good time.
Yes, I think a top 10 place in that particular 10,000 meter race is a phenomenal achievement. It was such an incredible race. I think the top 13 all finished under the previous Olympic record. So it was just amazing, and that national record to boot as well. Yeah, quite incredible. I think the mood in the team is really positive. I mean, it started with that bronze medal on the first day from the sevens guys, and then Tatiana in the pool. It's always great having the swimming in the first week so they can add some more medals to that total. Alan Hathaway in the mountain biking, that was a great performance there. So, yeah, when the medals come in, it like really boosts the team. Hopefully, we can do that, continue that trend in the athletics this week.
And I mean, have people like Akani and Prudence, who some are saying could be potential medal hopefuls, have they said anything about the pressure, especially with what we've seen so far with Tatiana getting medals? Is there talk about, where and how they could finish?
Akani talked about being fired up. He was boosted by Tatiana's performance. He watched that, he was screaming for her, and it actually just made him more excited, more than under pressure. Interestingly enough, the only person that talked about pressure this morning was Benji Richardson. He said after running that 9.86, suddenly there's a lot of expectation on him in the 100 meters. So yeah, it's interesting. I don't know. I'm sure Akani must be feeling some kind of pressure, especially after finishing so close to the podium before. But yeah, I think he's in a very good space mentally and very confident.
Karien Jonckheere, thank you so much for coming through to speak to us.